How's it going, you guys? Okay, we are on biohack number 6, efficiency in the kitchen. So how to chop veggies and really just be more efficient when you're in the kitchen. We'll run over a couple things there. I'm with my husband and chef CJ, and then how to know what oils to cook with, what are stable enough to cook with at high heat. So let's flip the camera around. Okay, it's on you.
Hey guys. So Coral wanted me to get on here and show everyone just a couple little things that are going to make your experience in the kitchen a little easier, right? And as I was doing this, I thought this might just be a good way to show you right off the bat that one of the most important things when just being in the kitchen in general, as far as safety goes, is making sure that your cutting board isn't sliding around, right? Coral and I kind of run a paper-free kitchen, so we always have kitchen towels on hand. I just get one wet and throw it down on the counter underneath my cutting board. That way, now my cutting board does not move around, and when I'm playing with a really sharp knife, I'm not going to chop my hand off, right? So, hack number 1, towel under your cutting board, works great. So, pretty much I'm just going to run you through how to efficiently cut an onion. I know to me it seems a little asinine to teach someone how to cut an onion, but I know that a lot of you, this is actually a thing. So, onion's round.
I didn't
right?
know how to do this till he showed me.
We got a round onion, right? So pretty much what we're going to do is we're just going to top and tail this onion.
She's almost here, baby.
Right? It's on one end, so now we're just going to cut it in half. We're going to peel off the outer layer of our onion. Okay, so now if you just compost that or toss away. I'm going to show you 2 different ways to cut an onion. There is the most common ways that you're going to use the onion, right? First one is just a common julienne, right? So when you're practicing your knife skills, I should say, the number one thing to do is to start practicing your guide, your left hand or your right hand, whatever hand you are, as your guide. And it seems a little weird at first, but once you get used to it, your left hand just kind of seems to know how to go a little faster than the right one, right? And you're pretty much, what I do, and this is kind of foolproof, is that just use that knuckle. I just use this middle finger knuckle, and I just use that as a guide when I'm cutting. So when I'm julienning onions, I can julienne this onion really nice, however big or small you want it. Just use that middle finger as a guide. That's your claw finger, right?
And even holding the knife, I didn't hold the knife correctly until I was with you.
So that's something we'll go over as well in between the 2 knife cuts, is that you want to make sure, if you can see this, that you're not just holding the handle of the knife like this. It's really unstable, especially on the cutting board, right? What you want to do is choke up on the knife a little bit, and this first part of the knife, metal part, is going to go right against the back part of your pointer finger. And if you notice, if you work in the kitchen, I have a callus there that'll always be there and never go away, right? If you got a callus right there, you're doing the right thing. So when you choke up on your knife, you want to get a firm grip on it, and you want your knife to be an extension of your hand. It's the most important tool. So you want it to be really stable. You want to be able to guide this and do whatever you want and feel confident that your knife's going to do the work for you, and you're not going to have to be pushing through things or really struggling. It's a sharp knife. It should do the work for you. So once you get comfortable doing that, your experience with cutting veggies and doing different stuff is going to be a lot better for you. So the second cut we're going to do is just a dice. There's a small dice, medium dice, rough chop, whatever. We're just going to do a small to medium dice. So what we're going to do is we're just going to make some cuts in here. We're going to go almost to the back, almost through it, but you're going to leave a little bit on there. And I'm just going to do 2 on this one. Just kind of come through there, right towards the end, and you're going to turn the onion. Now you're just going to make your cuts this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we just pretty much created a graph for our dice. So now we're going to kind of pinch everything together, and again, use that claw finger, right? And you're just going to start cutting and make your dice. Right. So you got a nice dice there, and then once you get kind of towards the back, what I'll do is to keep it consistent, I'll come through and I'll cut it once here. And I'll come through and just dice it this way. You know, and dice it up. Just that little end piece, dice it into your veggies there. Now you have nice consistent dice for your onions. You know, depending on what you're cooking, you might be, you know, julienne would be something you would want to cook for, say, you know, put in a nice tomato sauce if you really want to highlight the good onions. If you kind of want them just to have the flavor, but to kind of meld into the sauce, you do a small dice, and they'll kind of just melt as you're sauteing them, right? So that's pretty much it on the knife cuts for today. If you guys request more, I'll do more, kind of upon request, but for now, we'll start here. And Coral, did you want to go over the saturated fats, or?
Yeah, well, I'll flip the camera around and we'll both talk about that. How about?
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
So that little trick on the onions saved me so much time, not having to like try to get uniform dicing, just being able to do that with the first cut. And then, yeah, the other thing I want to talk about is you may have heard, like, don't cook with olive oil. And that's because olive oil is a monounsaturated fat. It's not bad for us when it's at room temperature. It's really good raw, you know, really good when it's not heated. But it's not as stable as other fats, so when it's heated up in the pan, it oxidizes and then it becomes toxic to us as well. And that is actually true for most liquid oils. So any vegetable oil, that's true for. And then, you know, there's some that say okay for high heat. Those are, you know, a little tricky. I've heard from most experts the best way to know if it's an oil, a good oil to cook with is if it's solid at room temperature. And so that's why coconut oil is usually recommended. Now, coconut oil tastes very coconutty, so not everyone wants to cook everything in coconut oil, so what else can you use? Well, a couple other options are ghee, which is basically clarified butter, butter without the milk fats. That's especially good if you have some kind of dairy sensitivity. The ghee is usually just fine, and it can stay solid at room temperature. It stays good forever. Even just butter is okay. Also, my husband and I get pasture-raised duck fat or pork lard, and those are actually, they're not actually fattening. Those are really good saturated fats that help us build brain cells. All cells in our body have saturated fat in it, and we need those as building blocks. And so anything that, and those are also solid at room temperature, you know, you're looking like 65 degrees if they're solid. That means it's a very stable fat that won't oxidize. So that's all I had for you guys with this biohack, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for joining me, you guys.